Is that yesterday I had my microphone on. Something. That's a feedback.
Okay. Okay. I will just use serious hooks for that and apply for care plan. I also need a few moments to prepare the guidelines to push them to So do you want me just to go over all the concepts or to start coding again? Maybe it's better just to go over the concepts.
Yes.
And to,
So I think the other thing is he's part of the project as well. So he was not here yesterday, but it's good. You can
okay.
go through the concept.
Okay.
So we are looking at that. We can make some report. But we would like also to see the whole landscape from care plan, from applicable guidelines to actual care plans. Yeah.
Okay. So
That will walk us through.
okay, I will skip the introduction parts. So the agenda yesterday was to take some Finnish textual guideline, and we decided for CoPD since it's already in English and it's much easier for translation and with AI. The terms are already in English. There is less chance for some kind of mistranslation or whatever. So pure textual guideline, L1, is okay, pure textual guideline. Maybe it can have some additional charts, whatever, but this particular that we are talking about is pretty straightforward. It's pretty, where did I put it? Well, okay, here. So this one is really nice, I would say. It's much easier when you have also pure PDF guideline, then you need to extract PDF text and clean it a little bit. So like some kind of data cleaning, just like you do for training AI models, but much more simply, just clean the unneeded stuff from the text. So how that works? I share the whole screen. Okay, I will stop sharing. And but why it's not
the PowerPoint full screen mode like this?
No, but why my cable is not yeah, because of the PowerPoint. Sorry, yes. I will stop it somehow. I will. Okay, maybe it's better like this one, so we don't need to. Okay, and then I will share everything. Share screen. Let's hide this one. So okay, so this guideline is really cool, nice. Textual.
me a second to
Okay,
use
yes.
this. Okay.
Okay. So I would say it's really easy to work with. Okay. So the next step is to load it to convert it to, okay, I like Markdown format. LLMs work with that format really nice. So I converted guideline to Markdown format, and this is all here with links, with everything. So when we feed it to our AI model, so I will just use some commands. Please read my OPD guideline Markdown case. Now AI will read the guideline, but let's maybe return to the beginning. So while he reads it, so what we are going to create it, we are going to transform it to structured presentation. And when we talk about structured, unstructured, so it's good to refer to this slide. So the textual guideline you saw, it's L1, pure text. Then the next step in transforming guideline to something that can be helped to machine readable is L2. And what we are aiming is the fully structured guideline, L3. And finally, we would like to execute L3 guideline, and in such a way it becomes L4, executable code that can be used in the real world. So why all of this? Because we are using AI for different kind of stuff. So yesterday, when I talked with colleagues in the other room, so people when hacking, they are using AI tools, it's much faster. So AI really works nice with code and with textual stuff. And guideline is nothing else but textual code that can be molded by model. And okay, I will.
So how do you translate something in PDF into Markdown format?
So there are two. It's easier way and it's less easier way. So the easier way, if the text is already represented as text in PDF, and then you just have converters that will extract the text from PDF. For example, in Croatia, when we work with clinical documents in PDF, and we are doing some experiments with AI, so we would like to find there is a bunch of unstructured documents in Croatia from clinicians, and we tried to do clinical structuring of unstructured clinical text. So we try to detect additional allergies that are not structured. As Jonathan yesterday talked, it's not easy for physicians or GPs to make perfect structured reports. So we try to extract clinical terms from unstructured text. So the hard way is when you have really, I think it's no more practice in real life, when you have basically scanned PDF documents, and then you need to do OCR, detection of the text in images, and that's not fun to do.
Not at all. So, so there are tools that convert either from OCR to Markdown format or directly from PDF, right?
Yeah, from PDF, yes. Well, it's okay. I'm just now doing the step of Markdown because it gives some structure to the AI. So AI maybe can easily detect what is header. The links are converted to much better way that AI will understand. But maybe I'm just also maybe it's not important. I don't know. But when I see everything that AI generates is basically Markdown. So that's the reason why I think, okay, if AI is talking Markdown, maybe I can also use Markdown. You will probably better understand it. So just like any document you give to AI, summarization will give some what he thinks is most important, and so he read it, and now it's in context. So Now we can start hacking here and converting to L3. So I'll also refer to some previous maybe I'll refer here.
Mhm.
So this is like architecture of what we have here. We have clinical guideline. I will put markdown, yeah. And we will load it in AI editor, and the AI editor will generate plan definition, activity definition, and CQL code. And we will use some additional tools to validate that. So in this context, we will maybe skip validation, but just to show you what AI can generate. So I think that in my last session, okay, there are some important rules I would like maybe to, we will return to this architecture a little bit later. So I'm trying to simplify everything and get to the point that you can ask kids what is most important for us, for business case. So I'll just go through these rules that I learned while I was doing this. So it's important for a human to really know the guideline. And as I mentioned before, in my company we have one of my colleagues. She has a PhD in medicine. And she's really like she really knows this, and she really knows how to interpret. She knows how to speak with physicians. So it's good to have somebody that's similar to physician or even physician in your company that can talk in this language of the guideline. So you need to have a human. So, also, you need to have your canon. So your basic set of rules, how you will convert unstructured guideline to some kind of your structure. So in this case, since we are using Happy server, or we are using FHIR clinical reasoning implementation, how it is meant to be in Happy FHIR server or CQF ruler, then I have wrote those rules in as a set of rules, of course. And then that's the most important thing, to give that to LLM and tell him that it's really important.
So could you show us this set of rules?
Okay.
So the LLM, if I understand you, reads the guideline and reads also the set of rules that you have
Yes.
as a background.
Yes.
So let's see what the rules look like.
Okay. So you can maybe have two types. So I will show later. In Croatia, we have CDSS management tool similar to colleagues from Turkey that outputs plan definition. Okay, I will show that here. Okay, maybe it's better in dark mode. No, it's better this light. So we have our structure. This was basic. The lecture of this afternoon of how we do that in Croatia, but maybe I can show it here. I will just do some. So this is the structure, how we see that clinical guidelines, or this is how we implement it. So basically on top of every, and we don't call it clinical guidelines, we call it CDS services. So every CDS service, in our vision, begins with parent plan definition. So that's the main plan definition, and that plan definition, sorry if I'm jumping now too much in a different direction, and that plan definition can reference different clinical guidelines, clinical pathways, whatever. In this case, this is just like simple national screening program prototype, something like that. And we have here three different screening prototypes, three different screening guidelines. So one is for breast cancer, prostate cancer, cervical cancer. And for each of that, so we would like to send patient to this national screening, and then while traversing this tree, if patient is eligible for any of those, it will end in some of these trees. So we have inclusion criteria. It's not single.
That's the group that June was discussing yesterday, right? The cohorts part.
Just a moment.
Males 50 and older would go for prostate cancer screening. Yeah.
Yes. And now you don't see, but
But there is a screening below. It says men 50 to 69.
yeah. Now we are. So this is first inclusion criteria to which guideline we will send the patient, and then when patient is. But there is not a box. This is just like generated for the showing.
Is this generated by AI as well?
No, this is generated. This is
This is like
generated.
a mind map, right?
Yeah, this is output of our CDS system, and I use this as a kernel for my AI tool. And for it, this is just something that I write really fast. So this is just to show the point of how we structure clinical knowledge, and then
And what kind of input you give to the AI, right?
yes, I will give this to AI, and here is and this is I think this is Croatian version. Yes.
So this is an example of a screening program, while our guideline is for COPD, but still it's useful to the AI to structure the knowledge, right?
Yes, this is my canon plan definition with SQL libraries, whatever. So it's maybe not so funny to watch the JSON, but I will just go and find some. There is many of them. Okay, plan definition. So this one, let's say, is this one child plan definition. It's not the parent plan definition, so it's not this one. It is this one. And then when person enters that one, we can see additional criteria. So female and 40 years older, and then we have refinements. Woman from 40 to 44, from 44 to 54, and so on and so on. And then afterwards, we have other leaves in our tree. Then we have some actions, okay, from woman from 45 to 54. Then we will send them service request, we will order an annual screening probe. So, like I said, there is some bugs here, but this is just to prove
the point.
To prove the idea of how we in Croatia we structure. This is how our CDS execution engine works, how it traverses this tree.
And the leaves are activities, right?
Yes.
And the intermediate, the green things are care plans.
Yes.
Care plan definitions and.
Sorry, it's not so visible, but
it's here.
Yeah, but it. I usually work with larger resolution. So yes, the parent plan definition, the conditions or SQL code, and then we have child plan definition, which is in our vision the clinical guideline itself, and then we have some other conditions, then we have some actions, and then finally we have activity definitions or the concrete stuff that person needs to take. So and this is how it looks like, how we see the structure. This structure can get more complicated. I don't have that example. Maybe I will generate it afternoon. So where we can have an additional guideline in guideline. You mentioned yesterday that you can have a care plan referencing to other care plan. That's something that we also implement. We can have multiple structure. We can have group of plan definitions like in this context. I will show that afternoon. Okay, it's okay. I can return to the presentation.
Yes, I understand now. All right.
Okay, so as I said, you give the rules. Now you have your canon. That is my canon. And then I have translated that to rules. So I want to say, for example, to AI that he mustn't forget some really important expression or happy server won't work with it. So I wrote that to some kind of rules. And I will not read now, but this is defining logic. And for example, maybe you have seen yesterday, I asked AI if he forgot, for example, this line. And the stuff didn't work. So I had to go manually and check what he forgot. So maybe we need to tell him, read this, read the rules, and be super duper strict on them. Don't forget everything. Don't forget anything. So, okay. And now I will ask him to generate some guidelines. So we can see I have already did that, but just to showcase. Okay, he read the rules and so on. So I'll tell him, please generate let's try to give him to generate the whole guideline. We will see what kind of mess he will generate.
Okay.
We generate whole, so PPD guideline following my rules. I haven't tried it, and because in rules, when I tell you about rules, we want to work. We want to start simple and then build up. We don't want to give like AI generate everything and then we are going to fix it. No, it's really hard. We want to build piece by piece.
Mhm.
And let's see what will happen.
So the AI remembers what you did yesterday or not? Is it the same?
Yes, I had that session, but I have started the fresh session.
Oh, you
Just for
started
the
the new
purpose.
version.
So
Alright.
he doesn't know anything from yesterday.
Mm.
And generate a new bundle with additional SQL files in new folder called Hackathon. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. While it generates, let's just back some rules. So this is the most important thing that you have. How we would like that clinical knowledge looks like in L3 level. And so as I said, my canon is adapted to copy fire clinical reasoning implementation. In Croatia, we have a little bit different vision of how clinical reasoning should work. And that's how we also implemented our engine. Of course, you need to know standards. So you need to have a person who knows the clinical guideline. You need to have a person who knows the standards. And it's also good to have some coder who is good with AI tools.
Could you add, besides plan definition, action, activity definition, also goals?
Yes, you need to know fire clinical reason if you want to use it. So yes, okay, maybe I need to add additional stuff, but you need to know everything.
Because yesterday we discussed how important goals are.
Yeah, okay, but this is just general. Comment to know all the, and etc. So also everything that's included in fire clinical reason. It's good to know SQL because AI generates some invalid SQL code, and that's good stuff. For example, if you have watch webinar, there is a cool extension. I have written my tool. I mean, we have written our tool in Ericsson, but there is one really good extension, clinical quality language, that can be installed in any visual code based editor. So like this Windsurf AI, Visual Code editor, whatever. So it's good. What it does, it translates SQL to Elm expression. You can execute SQL against some bundles and so on. So, but for yesterday, I took much visually appealing approach with this tool that I also personally use when I'm playing with it. So this tool will execute SQL against your fire bundle, And okay, but let's return. So, oh, no, skip. Get content. PowerShell, what is that? No, skip. Okay. The tool generated something. Except all. I think we will see a bunch of. So it generated SQL.
Three files, the parent, the suspected, and the confirmed.
Yes, and I will tell you this is for example not good. What he did, he just basically copied files from the last week when I was testing, but maybe it's not. Let's see. It looks okay. SQL looks okay, but he didn't generate. Okay, let's accept everything. Okay. Base history. Leave base 64 to me. Generate bundle. I will manually copy base 64. Okay. So base 64 is used to convert SQL to base 64, and then we put that base 64 into our bundle. Okay, now the AI will generate it again. So the next rule is, like I said, start simple and then build up, and then you will see how it goes. And it's good to break. So from programming experience, when programmer codes, he likes or she likes to have libraries. So to break the big piece of something into smaller parts, in libraries, in components, and so I'm really impressed how you break everything in components that can, and every component can send CDS hook. So it's really nice. So it's much easier to build up, to have your components than to create something big like a super big SQL. I like to have more SQL libraries, but that they are smaller and much more understandable. Of course, validate and test constantly, and yeah. So let's see finally. Okay, he's still like building.
I see it uses here in the sample SNOMED as the coding system.
Yes. In the real world, well, it's a little bit, situation is a little bit more complicated. So, for example, in Croatia, we have some of our internal codes for service request, and then we have SNOMED codes for, I'm not sure are people really using it for after you have written everything. Then you need to use SNOMED codes, ICD for diagnosis, ATC for the medication, and so this, as I said in this hackathon, I will not refer to terminologies. It would be much more complicated. So let's see what. Okay, let's see what we have here. The tool generated something, and I will choose the file. Well, I would say that AI used the I think the real guideline should be much more complicated, but let's see, because he probably took some of my previous files when I instructed AI to generate simple guideline, two simple guidelines, one for suspecting COPD and the other for when COPD is confirmed and to see the pathway, what will happen with the patient. But for this demonstration, I think this is really good. So, as I said on the top, this is for Croatian model, and at the top we have parent line definition that refers to one clinical guideline that will be used for detecting COPD in the patient. And then when COPD is suspected, we will send patient to spirometry, and the system will create service request for spirometry procedure. Okay, this is really simple. The next clinical guideline is when COPD is confirmed, then we go to a little bit more complicated workflow. So we suggest, okay, this is, so my instructions when I was testing and working on it was to create something more like a care plan for the patient after he is diagnosed with COPD. So that's why it's much more, let's say, patient oriented, to stop smoking, to start exercising, to take some vaccination, and to take some medication if eligible. So let's see what happened. We have probably 4 service requests to go to start to take smoking, counseling, and stuff like that. So, and here it's interesting that, so I haven't written the rules what to generate with suggested activities from the guidelines. So he created everything as a service request, which is wrong. So exercise counseling should be maybe some kind of, I'm not sure, appointment. Medication should be some kind. So what is this? Review medication. It should be some kind of encounter that you go to the doctor to see what medication. So this is not good. So, but I didn't have the rules. What should be on an activity definition level? So this is also something that you need to have in your canon. So exactly what will be generated by, for example, if we refer back to the guideline.
You can say, for instance, if you need to order a medication, then create a medication.
Yes.
A medication request.
Yes. And there is the down. Maybe it's better to see it here. When you see here, okay, you need to do some what's treatment, smoking cessation, physical exercise. So he forgot nutrition, for example. Okay, but my initial input was to create simple guideline and pharmacotherapy, and here we have a little bit different stuff. Maybe we would like that he really propose which therapy to take, not just some kind of therapy. And here we have real group of drugs, and here is a place where your terminology should come in place. So which codes you will use? Is this medicine is okay? This is the is the same in Finland and in Croatia is the same code. Is Croatian code system different? So we need, this is the trick part, and there is a lot of stuff here that you probably should really check and maybe manually do all this stuff. So, and here we see there is a lot of other data that this AI didn't took into. For example, it never mentioned any asthma. And when I see CPL code, I don't see, for example, when somebody is suspected, I don't see asthma. It is also a sign of possible COPD. So it only says productive cough, smoking, and so. But why this happened? This happened because he probably saw some other files. So I will do one more request. Please generate new bundle, but take into account all the features. Okay, whatever. All the features, medications, THRS codes, everything. Create complex, who knows what will happen, complex real world guide the one in bundle. Let's see. Okay, so you see my AI was my model was pretty good here. He respected my structure. He respected that I would like to have more of these pathways. I mean, more of these clinical guidelines on this level. And just to say, okay, it respected some of my other rules. So it's good in this simple manner. But when things start complicating, we'll see. So he's now. I will just stop him.
Okay.
Don't generate base 64. I will do that. I'll do that. Just generate CQL and bundle in a new folder complex. Okay. And okay, let's okay, so we have the structure. So, Catherine, should I go also and putting all this in my Happy server, Fire server, or will we just leave it on this level, which is more visually understandable? Or you want me to try to do the whole workflow and generate care plan?
Let's generate the whole care plan.
Okay. Okay. So
to see the workflow.
Okay, so this is okay.
It doesn't matter if it's not complete or.
Okay. So I'm not happy because what he did now, he analyzed my whole folder, and he analyzed also my previous simple guidelines, and he's now, let's see what he will do finally. I think it's now getting some more complex SQL. So let's leave it that way.
So essentially what you will do is you will push the SQL into the Happy server, right?
Yes. And but to be fair, I will push yesterday's code, which is working. So I don't want to lose time now and fix SQL. Now the SQL is now we have some kind of thresholds. Now we have some, but it will be much harder to create patients and everything. So let's start Happy. Okay, I will start pushing inside the and expect. I'll just take something here. Let's see what let's just check this complex guideline. Okay, now we have a lot of stuff here. Let's load it. Okay, now our structure is more complex.
Mm-hmm.
And let's return to this confirmed CoPD pathway, and let's check some Unfortunately, this version should also show the detailed CQL code, but for some reason it doesn't. It doesn't do. Sorry for that, because here then we can also see CQL code, but I don't know why it's not working. So, but okay, now we got something more complex, and now we have this medication request. Okay, now he read our requests, so now we have a bunch of medication requests to send patients to some therapies. Okay, and we have also service requests, and he also should create nutrition plan, I believe. I think there is in guidelines something like having a diet, nutrition plan. So yes, I also expected him to create nutrition plan, but he didn't.
Okay, I think it. Okay, so you create a library, I guess, incrementally.
No, it created everything from the beginning, but it took into context previous. So probably he did what you said.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
was thinking that in a larger project, you might wish to have a library of CQL where you are adding proposed rules. So you do it incrementally, like you said in rule number.
Definitely. And probably also I would like to have like my CQL library with my functions. For example, for calculating BMI, body mass index, for having some algorithms that I manually coded and I ensure that everything is all right. So, and I would say to him, okay, here's my CQL library, and for those functions, please use wherever you can find those functions. So this whole process should be a little bit more complicated. I was like thinking about some kind of agentic architecture where you have SQL agent, you have your plan definition agent, activity definition agent, and you have one orchestration agent that really takes that and really builds your clinical guidelines. And let's add also fourth agent that verifies everything, and there is a real person who checks on the verification agent. So yes, the real architecture of all this should be much more complicated. But also I would say it would be really, really efficient. I think. So okay, let's dive further. Let's see what we can load to our fire. I will take yesterday's, as I previously said, I will take yesterday's guidelines, and I will take guidelines from suspected parent all. I will take all of them. I think there's also CQL code here working. And I will put that as a transaction bundle. Okay. Okay, so we have everything inside, and now this is also my test tool, that we used for demonstrating CDS to the interested parties, that we internally demonstrate some new CDS function to our management and to other colleagues which are not part of CDS, so that everyone who is not on the developer side can understand what we have built. So what you will see here, this is small CDS part of the application, and here you can see all the CDS services that are registered by Happy Server. And for example, this Happy Server has registered 3 CDS services because it doesn't respect this structure. Our implementation would see only one CDS service when you issue CDS discovery. Is it CDS discovery? I forgot. No, I forgot. So okay, so it detected 3 CDS services, and now let's create our patient. So this part should go pretty fast. We'll create test, female, first, second, 70, that patient. And for some reason, this takes time. And of course. So
You have another test patient?
I need to override the course policy. It broke my application. Well, I don't know why it's slow. It's much slower when you start sharing the whole screen in the Teams. So, contributor for each. Well, it worked yesterday, so why it's not working today?
The demo event.
Yes. Okay. We still don't have our patient, and
So you create a patient, you create a visit.
no, I created patient, but the everything broke because of the course policy. So let's try again. Or maybe if not, I will create patient directly to Fire server.
Yeah, just push a patient. Let's assume that you have a patient.
Oh no, I need to create it manually. Something broke. So let's duplicate this and let's find our patient. I think I will find the simple patient here. Okay. And let's put it inside. Patient. Oops. Okay. I think we have our patient, and now I will just restart this. Let's hope for the best. Okay. We have some patient, and we will set there is some chest pain, and then we will add encounter, and hopefully thing will not broke again. Okay, it's good. So I think the patient is created, but CQ happy is slow in creating encounters. Let's see. No. Okay, this is the one I wanted to show you. So when we go to the CDS services of our Happy server, we can see 3 CDS services, and yeah, that's what we are. That's what's inside. Okay. Now we have confirmed patient, and for some reason there is no share button here. Well, maybe it's here. Okay, why it's not working? Of course, it's still not. Okay, have our encounter, and now what we'll do. So first we will check, is this patient taggable for spirometry, and we will call CDS manually, and let's wait a little bit that everything starts working. Okay, CDS request succeeded, but returned no CDS cards. So CDS is working, service is working, but this patient is not available for this. So what we will do, we will add some observation like tobacco smoking status, heavy cigarette smoker, and I will use this hack and now we will add observation. And for some reason, observations come in a millisecond. And now we will call our service. And okay, so CDS returned the card that this patient should be sent to spirometry. Okay, this is simplified. You will also need some additional inclusion parameters like maybe history of asthma, like overweight, productive cough, or non-productive, and whatever. But CDS in any way returned to us service requests so that we send this patient to spirometry, and okay, we will add it to the file, and now that service request will be visible here in a few moments. Okay, so this patient also now has history of doing spirometry, and the next step is that we create some observation with spirometry results. But we will skip that. We will say, okay, this patient really has COPD, and let's add COPD. It's severe, and let's add that condition. Okay. So here you see we have our patient. It has its smoker with its spirometry, and we detected COPD. And the next step would be to call this guideline. So
The confirmed COPD guideline, yeah.
Yeah, this guideline. So we would like to see what we need to do with COPD patient. And let's see. And now we'll select COPD pathway. And so when physician is working with this, he would probably call patient view, and he would get to create some orders for smoking, to stop smoking, to whatever it's needed. So, but when we click generate care plan, it will generate the real care plan, and we will now see it here below. Okay, and this is our care plan. So care plan is saved on the patient record. It's connected with encounter. It's connected with patient, and now we can, for example, check that care plan. I don't have some super care plan here in this context. And so what happened? It suggested some resources like physical therapy, and it suggested some service requests. So okay, let's download that care plan, and now we have downloaded that care plan, and with additional logic that I didn't have time to, we would share it with our yellow button to another file server to create the sharing link, or just to do raw download. So now I have downloaded, and let's try to visualize it in my care plan visualizer. Okay, now this is our simple care plan, and we would suggest our patient would have this in his patient portal, whatever, and maybe he will be able to see what he needs to do. Okay, he needs to call counseling to stop smoking. Maybe he needs to start some exercise. I have here a much better care plan. It's simple care plan from what's on Fire server, and it's much more interesting to me because it's real care plan and it's much better. So for this patient, we have care plan that has really inside the problems of the patient, conditions that are already inside. So maybe I could also instruct my AI, or I will do it manually, to add conditions of the patient inside to see what's problem with patient. And then we have some suggestions. And with that suggestions, we have some additional actions. So this patient should lose weight, reduce whatever, and start taking care of the food, start exercising, okay, whatever. Walk three blocks to her parents' house, and whatever. So this is much more real world care plan. And somehow we need to connect this care plan with feedback, with what patient did, what managed to do, what didn't manage to do, but it's out of scope of this presentation. So, is this okay, Catherine?
Yeah, I think this is great. I think I got it now.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you.
Should I stop sharing and...
Thank you very much for going over it. I think
No problem.
I think this was very useful
Thanks, it
to
was a
understand
pleasure.
the full workflow. Georgia, back to you. I'm sorry for hijacking the meeting, but I had this gap that I needed to fill.
And I'm trying to take some of the Danish guidelines and also with ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
I got actually some CDH hooks cards generated.
It should be enough long.
Think that, what do you think about going to Vitalis? You have time?
I think it depends if people go there for Vitalis or they also can work with us here.
Like this.
Most of the people here are interested to be in this room and don't go to the Radical Health Festival. So it is needed that we are collecting people and having them in a room in 2 days. So it doesn't need to be Vitalis.
But Vitalis gives us
But if they go to Vitalis instead of having a meeting with us,
I'll do that. Let me share my
This ball is
screen.
not so
Is
fast
anyone
for me.
else on the?
Okay,
Let
let's
me
do
share the
that.
screen as well.
Because I think
Okay.
Lithuania and Estonia observer,
So
and you have all the
where we
Nordics.
were yesterday,
we can Nordics.
just for
I call them here. It's like
a summary also for my.
Yeah.
Oh, we started just discussing a little
Can you
bit.
take
Let me turn on.
So we can use this.
The fact that what are the different three concepts, that of the guideline, the plan definition, and the care plan, how the guideline relate to the plan definition, and how the plan definition can turn into a specific action or care plan or specific. And then with these three steps in mind that cover what we would like to achieve, we say, okay, let's start from focusing on the care plan part, work on that, try to consolidate, and then we can proceed with the rest. We just show what is currently available in XTHR and in the patient summary, and we started try to collect what are the things that might be part of the core profile as being concept. And we started try to identify the possible business actor, what might be some possible system actor that might be involved into the scenario, and this is what we stopped doing that. What we expect that each business actor should be able to do for patient and for the professional. And then we were at that point because we have not concluded that part. Just for those that might be interested in, if you is not yet there, but you can find in the as soon as I'm able to push the changes now in the business page, you can find those actors, the what we have discussed in terms of use cases. For the professional, we need to understand better if you like to keep that distinction between nurse and clinician, or just to talk about the care professional. And if you go in data, then you have the model that we have discussed that was in the slide yesterday. Okay, just to start and have something we can start with the aging. But this is not the relevant part. The relevant part is that one. So,
Giorgio, how can Ivan and Goxe contribute examples to the care plan? It will be after you push it to the build.fire, or what would be the process?
The guide is there. If you go under the GitHub repository of HL7 Europe, you can find a link share. Let's show you. If you go GitHub HL7U and you search for share, see here care plan. And then you know how GitHub is working, so I don't need to tell you anything. What we can probably do is to add outside input an example folder in which we can collect the folder, and then we can decide when and if how to use them, or even to keep as a repository connected to the care plan. Okay. So
Why don't I view all repositories? So it's under repositories, huh? I haven't been there for a while. So I see 60 repositories under it, just
okay, so
Excel
patient
care plan.
search
I
and
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so patient search and see the care plan, share the care plan, execute the record action. This is what you expect that a patient should be able to do. Okay, search and see the care plan, define the care plan. Should be defined. I mean, update, see, monitor. Execution. I try to see because there is some overlapping between the two. So could we remove that one? Care plan management and leave the execution and record action here. Anything that we are missing, or we can still add it and modify it.
How do we support what Morten was saying yesterday about import of data, of relevant data? Is that part of the execution?
I mean that monitor the care plan is the part, or if we would like to add
That's an
part of
action
the
of
monitor.
That's an action of the health professional.
Is search data, import data, what you...
It's done on, it's happening automatically, according to Morten.
Yes, can I also add what is important, because when you are making a fire profile, sometimes we are putting in if this is mandatory or optional and so on. We have a rule in Denmark in our care plan project saying that nothing may stop that you can make a care plan. You don't need to have a system. The doctors will not have a system where a screen is coming up with a care plan and they say, I cannot make the care plan because you are missing some data. This is really, really important. So then you will have a minimal care plan. You will only have very, very few data, maybe only the person name, the age, and a diagnosis. And then you will make a care plan. And I think we should respect this also in our profile.
Okay, so subject is subject patient.
Of course, you need the inclusion criteria.
Okay, so
that's all.
Mandatory.
They
And
don't
then
have to.
the other
The
thing
reason
is
is mandatory or not?
the subject.
Nothing is mandatory here.
So you can create a care plan without patient?
Of course not.
Okay.
The patient and the inclusion criteria For
It is very
diabetes,
young.
you need to have it. But if you don't have any other data,
Okay.
of course, if you have the patient, you also have the gender and the age.
So the subject and the reason are mandatory.
If the reason is the inclusion criteria.
It says health concern.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah. But there is maybe something outside the definition of a care plan.
Okay, so what we need to define
all
is
mandatory?
You can calculate the goals.
is-
Maybe if you don't have the data, you cannot calculate them.
You can put it in million.
Expected rule to be fulfilled. G, calculation should not be, should be able, because it should be able to see and manage the plan, even if some expected data are not present.
It's
Whatever expected could mean, but let's see, it can be.
how is it in Turkey with missing data in a care plan? Can you continue working?
It depends on each guideline. Decisions define what is really mandatory and what is optional or forced.
Yeah.
For example, calculating factors that risk, the recent cholesterol, the LDL values. You have to account. If not, a lab order should be placed and you have to stop carrying down everything till you receive the results. Right?
Yeah, or at least we allow manual entry in the case of somehow they went to the patient went to a private lab unit and then she has the paper in her hands, then the GP is able to enter them into the system just to be able to proceed.
Yeah.
But ideally, all the data is coming from the centralized EHR system, so we don't have too much missing data. It's usually more problems due to bad quality of data and things like that, and things like that.
Yeah. But the reason by us is that the doctor doesn't have the time to collect those data.
Yeah,
They maybe if we have 5 or 7 minutes for a consultation, and if you are missing data, okay, then you have to work and continue with the data you have at the moment.
Exactly, and unfortunately, the time integrations are much lower.
Much lower.
Okay.
Okay.
I just noticed that AC professional has no shared care plan. I suppose we need to add this feature.
In Turkey, for example, the GP shares the care plan specialist, but it's automatic. It doesn't pay to anything.
Yeah.
By definition, care that's
There are some business rules like this, for example, especially for the primary care, let's say dietitians, physiotherapists, etc. There are some rules, so the care plan is already in the centralized system, and for them being able to access patients' care plan, it's based on some rules like the patient has to have at least one care plan and at least one referral suggestion should have been created for a dietitian, for example, in the same city or in the same county, depending on the level. And if these cases are met, then the system automatically does inspects and automatically allows access of the search. But a dietitian from another city, somewhere in Turkey, cannot access.
Yeah, it needs to be, so obviously, we cannot distinguish all the different flavors because we need to have a kind of care relationship. And based on your role, you may have some, if you are going with that detail, but it's important, yeah, sure.
But it's not, let's say, individual based, because it's not very possible. I mean, GP does not refer the patient to a dietitian Mustafa. That's not much possible. It happens at the level of appointment. So if you want to convert to refer suggestions and exact appointment, which is also possible, then it becomes a named more specific appointment.
Okay. So we have then the organization, what we suppose that the healthcare provider need to do with the care plan is certainty is defined as not.
So organizational level,
Yeah.
we
Should
every
be
month
monthly, yeah.
see the results of care plan executions. There are some clinical goals that are being set in each care plan. For example, population management, it's keeping the HbA1c value below a certain threshold, and the organizational level, for example, the chief physician can see whether what percent of the goals have been met. So it's
So could be part of the monitor of the care plan?
yeah, we can
Okay, I can
say
see that.
care plan outcomes mostly, not individual actions.
Main outcome.
Giorgio, maybe I can add later today or after the meeting here in for the future version of our care plans in Denmark. We have had a clinical group which have made some user stories. This is only one-liners. I think we have 50 of them.
Okay.
As a doctor, I want to, because it gives me this benefit or it is this benefit for the patient. And here you can actually, in our process, we can map it to the data which we are having here. Because I think that we should not try to dream up some data in the implementation guide, which we will not use afterwards.
Mm.
This is a danger always, that we are expanding and presenting some data elements for the healthcare professionals, which they don't have any interest in.
That's perfect.
And if we are having data here, which are not in the user stories, we have to ask for a user story which support that data element.
Mm.
I have it in Danish, but maybe we have some experts in AI here. We can get a translation.
To translate, yeah. Maybe they could be part of the deliverable, and then we can, from the guide, refer to some, because I don't know if you suggest to make a page with all these stories, or
Yes,
Mm.
yes, we should put it into Excel and make it public.
we can put it.
So these one-liners need to be annotated with structured data and codes.
Yeah, this is next step. At the moment, we are trying to keep away a technique and every fire and whatever discussion with.
Yeah, but for our purpose,
For our next step will be that we are trying to code it.
that could be something for the next
Yes.
hackathon.
Add a page with user story. This is what you are saying, the AG.
Yes.
Add in the AG. So I can create a placeholder, so an empty page, and then when you have the content.
And maybe these are structured user stories. I think it would be.
We have done a mapping afterwards into 4 or 5 categories to see where should this functionality be in services or in the EHR system or outside. I have a diagram for this.
Mm.
Then yesterday in poker, give a relative. We have these two business actor that we had. This is what we have for the patient. Should is the same thing for them, or is not sharing? I don't know. It's really up to you what you see. And these are the things that we have for the ASP that we can or cannot use. What do you suggest we should do? We can also say let's keep them or maintaining. So, what do you think we should do?
Searching and seeing care plan. but I don't think sharing the care plan is their responsibility. And the execution and recording actions could be because, for example, for some older people, it's not possible for them to use, electronic systems to go. And there was
Children.
or for children, for small children, their parents or their caregivers can have that.
Should caregiver monitor the care plan or
Monitor the care? Yeah, I think so.
okay?
Yes, the monitoring care plan would be like a full feature of telemedicine, something like that. You would like to check so the patient responds with some data and you can have some remote session monitor to suggest, to advise. So that's maybe physician side up here.
Giorgio, I have looked up here in our report about those user stories, and they are divided into 4 different areas. One is documentation in the EHR system. Because you are also before you are having maybe a chronic disease, you have done a lot of registration. And even if you have this also for other diseases, and when you visit your doctor, you are putting in some documents. This is one area.
Okay, so
And a part of those data will go into the care plan. Then we have another area for the user stories, which are communication and collaboration. And another one is patient identification and follow-up, which means that you need to have support if you are following the care plans and also cross-sector and so on. And then the key is actually in the use cases is clinical decision support.
sorry, can you just the documentation, patient education and
Patient identification and follow-up. And
the second one that I miss?
communication and collaboration.
The last one?
And the fourth one, the most important is clinical decision support.
And the first one was documentation in the EHR.
Yes. And here you actually have the first one is actually the care plans, ending up with the care plans, but you have a lot of data about the patient up here.
If these are the user story,
Yes, but it is also, it's not only history, it's also up to date when you are sitting with the patient and making an update of the care plan. But 1 second after it is history, yes.
okay, if you have this user story, we need to somehow try to connect with the use cases that we have identified. So surgeon see, share care plan, execute and record. Surgeon C, I suppose, is collaboration, right?
What I don't see here is the update of the care plan.
It is in the documentation part. Yeah.
So this is for the record action part.
Mm.
I suppose is the execute and record action.
And then create or update the care plan could be in the documentation then?
Define the care plan is where?
In documentation.
Also the updates.
The update is, it is in the documentation and it is also in the clinical decision support, I think.
Yes.
So, and then I suppose also the family care plan will be care decision support.
Yes.
See, monitor the care plan. Monitor is follow up, suppose.
Update of the care plan by clinical decision support is in most cases adjusted, not adding new things, but adjusting the existing one. This is the question.
No, to guide, you can recommend new additions based on that. It's not always just updating existing ones. You can refer based on the current condition of the patient. It's not there in the beginning.
So, okay, we can improve later. Let's say that these are the potential relationship. And then we can try to adjust either the use case and the based on the story. If these are the things that we need to try to support, remove that. Let's go to the next step.
We need a break.
Sorry.
Will we have a break first?
Oh, yeah, sure. I think it's a good idea. So that I have the time to make the checkout.
Oh, yes.
When we need to stop in order to wrap up and to start preparing the
It's happy or
En atıyorum hipertansiyondan bir sebeple işte sorunlarını yapıyorum. Sonunda yüksek oluşum olan tekrar halen gelebilir. Şeyleri birleştiriyoruz. Hani tek bir bağlamda birden fazla sebep olabiliyor. Moderasyonu zaten birleştiriyoruz. Ama farklı modüle geçtiği zaman. Abi de sana şey soruyorum. Bu şeylerin gelişmeleri olmadan önce sen anlamda da söylüyorum ama ne yapmadım bu yeni global aylık hedefleri tamam diye olacaktım. Şöyle bir durum var işte sen bu bazı insanlar da vardı. Otizmle başlayacaklar gibi duruyor bu. Hatta sanırım performans açılacaktır. Bu şeyler başlama. Bilmiyorum ya ondan şeyler var mı?
Yep.
I shared some of the things that I managed to translate. Started in the content and a bit of the requirements, but the requirements side of things is such a huge jump of documents that I'm not going to be bothering to get through exhaustively there.
You can probably put some links in the implementation guide. Do you see the GitHub folder? It's under HL7 EU. I just had it. It's HL7/EU XR DAS care plan.
Yeah, it's the bird, and we have any actual fire because the requirements, which is partial, so I'm not sure if that's worthwhile, but anyway, if there is something that you want to compare, then at least the structure is now in a format that should be readable. That has English descriptions, because the definitions are only in Finnish. It would have been really difficult for anyone else to understand.
Load your Kepler in my Kepler here. See it inside.
It's not quite can be
Nice.
translated first. It's just this, what would be the structure definition, I guess.
Mikael Rinetmäki is really active. So there are like 10 companies that presented.
Yeah, because sorry.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the first one.
So this care plan that you shared, June, I'm just looking now in the care plan that you shared.
Yeah, that's
So-
just the structure definition, essentially, even though it's not exactly fire. That's the way it's defined in the Finnish code server.
And an example of Kepler itself is translating.
Right, it just hit me. So this is a care plan structure. No, it's for the care plan, not for the definition, right?
Yeah. Sources that I used it on. At the very bottom is that like the textual version, but that's in Finnish, so the link below is that I translated.
What is the architecture?
What?
You said there is a link with, which is the care plan, right?
At the very bottom of that, there is the example of that as text, right? So that
This is
this
the,
part is that as text, and the link that I posted a little bit below is that translated into English. This one, the translated content, it's that section in English.
yeah,
The structure that you should use like behind the scenes is the link above it. I also translated into English.
let's see what ChatGPT can do. Okay, let's compete. Mm, interesting. So, so we are competing now, Ivan, to create a care plan for this suggestion of.
Yes.
Yeah, I took some of their food as well. Mm. measurement is a task or a service request?
Self-verify. The weekly measurement thing, right?
Mm.
I'm not sure. Maybe I lost.
Maybe we can discuss when other people come back. These are, I think, interesting guidelines. So, Giorgio, we were asking, we were wondering about something as you were away. So the glucose, June gave us an example of a care plan in text, and we were wondering if glucose reporting weekly is a service request or a task.
I mean, depending if you want to order something, if you want to order the exam, this is a service request.
Well, the plan says that you need to submit weekly your glucose measurements.
Submit.
That's what it said.
I would say it might be a task, but what you need to do as an action.
Mm.
But if you are requesting the examination, service request.
So the way I read that is that they expect there to be a PHR system to which you would send your results weekly. So the problem
We need
is
to
about
get the
that.
nine libraries. So we need to, as the first important seems to be
I don't think there's anything better than a task.
I asked two versions of the care plan, one with task and one with service request.
Yeah, service request means that you are. So if you imagine that there is something that has to be done as. You have also communication, so you can have different things, how you going to interpret.
And it also how you interpret it, like you say, if this is interpreted, you need to go to a lab and measure it. That's a different thing. So while you were away, June gave us a care plan from a care plan example in text. And Ivan and I were using ChatGPT to translate it. I asked R5. So I have two versions. If you want to play as well, it's in chat.fire.org under the Finnish Health Hackathon. The text, it's here now. You wanna see? This is it. Text. Hmm? Hmm? This is the care plan example. And we are trying to make it into Fire.
Yeah.
And it says, Giorgio, specifically, submit weekly blood pressure measurements.
This seems to be a communication request. I was looking
Ah,
to that. Request to convey information from a sender to recipient.
and that is an activity as well, right?
Yeah, this is a request. And not sure if. But it depends on which kind of version you are working on.
Okay.
Yes, it's not issue7.eu. Okay, now we have the communication request as well here. Yeah.
So it's a communication request reference from care plan activity, right? Yeah, go ahead. Well, you can always do more, but yeah, I can show what the latest version is. May I share the screen, Giorgio, for just a few minutes? I'm sure that it won't be as good as yours, but we need to start somewhere. So while you were away, June shared with us, let me get here, this care plan. You can actually find this care plan in the Tulip chat, yeah? And I can probably make it bigger. Hmm? It's a text file, yes. It's a text file, and how do I think like this? I can make it bigger. Yeah, so this is an example of a care plan. There's a date, there's a name, there's an ID. It has a purpose, yeah, which is maintain control of diabetes. It has a coordinating organization, coordinating professional. There are some goals: manage diabetes, completely quit smoking. There is a doctor that gave us, so the healthcare professional Georgia told us, and there are some goals, right? These are goals. Please help me, Morten, because you are the expert here. Having worked, and also, yeah, so we have some goals like fasting. We have some targets. This is another goal. We have an LDL as well, goal. We have the cessation. And here are the actual activities or actions or tasks. This is something that I'd like some more clarity from you. How do we actually model this? Are these tasks? Are these activities? So participate in diabetes peer support group. Is that a task or an activity?
There's no activity.
What is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's no activity resource. So there is the.
Is that a task or a service request?
Within the data, I don't think that
It-
within the activity, you can refer to several resources.
Mhm.
Service requests, communication requests, appointments.
Also task, I thought. There
Okay.
can be a task as well.
The way we are doing it is that we are saying this is an intervention or an activity. I think this is the same. But then to support that it is happening, we have in the care plan module what we call an order component.
That's a service request.
So from here,
Mhm.
but in the care plan, it is still an activity.
It's an activity.
But the execution is that if the doctor press this order component, then the needed information to be sent with a referral is captured
Mm.
and going into a service. And then this order component will send a notification to the doctor
That has
So-
been completed or
that is
in progress.
that he has to take care of this. So he remember this. So it is actually
Okay.
going into his
So
amazing.
you're talking about a service request, the way I understand.
Also more for like the system stuff, so you define some parts and wait for the file to be executed, it may be automatically or according to time,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it depends.
etc. So
Yeah, schedule another telephone consultation to mean appointment. Appointment, you are asking to have an encounter. So,
This is a schedule. What is that? This
another telephone
Appointment
consultation is
request.
appointment. Is appointment.
That might be a verb.
Yeah. In that case, if you are asking for a service, then it's a service request. It depends on how you interpret that.
what we do on our side, it is only a referral recommendation right now, which is not additional, like not converted to a specific appointment, it is represented with service request and the category record. But if it becomes an actual appointment, that sometime, I mean,
Mhm.
everybody thinks, okay, I accept this referral recommendation, I want to convert it to an appointment, then we make it represented with an appointment, linked to the service request.
The way I see this one, because it has the healthcare unit, I guess the healthcare unit refers to this request, right? To the schedule of the dental appointment. So probably this is kind of a service request because it has where it is going. Support for self-care. Now that's
I mean, it might be a bit complex, at least the way I see it is the typing aspect of it, because the type 2 diabetes peer support group was an activity being developed.
mhm.
So if there is this sort of need to coordinate or orchestrate between activities that.
In that case, we need to use a request group or request specification if we are not a response.
Yeah.
Or to group the services in another service that has two parts.
If you need to say, do that, and then do that, and then this is a request orchestration.
Yes.
At least this example shows that that might be the case for some activities that they need to be sequential.
Mm. And is there a resource for that, for the orchestration? Or
Sorry?
how do you group or how do you orchestrate these service requests?
In terms of resource, as I told, in response, there is a request group. There is 5 and 6, and there is the request orchestration. That's that.
Okay, and then we have the submit the weekly glucose monitoring measurements.
I mean, as we said before, if the
Through the
purpose
electrode.
is to, sorry?
This is part of the patient. Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, it could be a communication request.
Yeah.
If you want to say, I never use it, sincerely, but
Yeah, in the service, you have the advantage of defining some specific timing, like do this 2 times a day at after breakfast, before breakfast. I guess this was not possible in completion.
Where is it possible to say how frequently you do that?
Service requests are-
Service request. So you're saying that this may be more appropriate for service requests because of the timing.
yeah, I mean that the definition of service request say a record of a request for a service as a diagnostic investigation, treatment, or operation to be performed.
Mm. And then it has prepared the plan, the nurse. So who is me here, June? Is it the patient? Okay.
It's like you go over like the patient.
Mhm. And then there is this if this could be like SQL or some fire expression. If fasting blood glucose repeatedly exceeds this value, metformin medication shall be started. So this is probably some rule.
Yeah, I don't know
How would we do
long
this
additional
one?
information should be.
It's a note. So this is an action for the patient or for the doctor?
For the doctor, patient cannot start on the medication.
Okay. And then we have the diagnosis, which are conditions and yeah. Okay, so here is what ChatGPT created now. Let me make this bigger. How do I make this bigger?
Currently, I sent you a link for the Hackathon, and I sent you one example. So,
Yeah, why don't you take the lead then?
okay.
Yeah, I'll copy it and I'm really I don't think that I did a good job as you, so
No, but you can load it. You can save
I can still load it and see what it looks like.
You
Yeah,
can save it as JSON and.
yeah. So would you like to, please? He said, oops. I said, I will send you so that.
Let me just fix some things. Okay. So I have improved a little bit this viewer. So and I have asked AI to. I have feed him with
The care plan.
with structure definition, and with textual files, so that
Can you share it also to the team so that it is?
I can't share it through the Teams. There's some restrictions, so I have sent you on the mail.
Okay.
So there is a problem with my company when
So here-
sharing files outside of the organization. So
give me a word. Let me share the care plan somewhere.
well, I can share it also here, but you can share it on a chat, whatever. It's Lulip. So okay.
I have added a link to a Danish care plan example to Sulit.
So what we have here is I asked him to give me all the important, let's say, important data from the care plan so we can see. So we have here so we have here patient. It's too much light here. Maybe if we
Can we close the lights?
yes, if we can kill that light somehow. Where is the switch? Oh, it's something down.
No, I would,
Maybe down there.
I would just make it more. Yeah.
It's probably.
This example is not reachable or
It is, but you cannot just click. If you see the last 5 letters are not in the link, so you have to copy. You have to copy everything and put into your browser. I saw it.
Oh, great. Okay. Yes, if you can kill it a little bit more. Better. Just see. Yeah, just let me try to dark mode. Maybe this one is better. Okay, so I think this is even better.
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah, but this no this. Okay, no matter. We can simplify here. Okay, so we have some leaves here. I mean,
Can you just make the font dark in the?
yes, but I need to instruct AI to fix it. So, okay. Make new notes. Dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wait. Care plan is
Fun.
yeah, it's fun. So the AI is really good for experimenting, learning. You can get your examples faster. You can save your time. So, but for production, we need probably to define some kind of procedure.
Yeah, like a guideline.
Yes, how to use it.
How to use AI to create. Yeah, maybe we can include it in the. There.
Okay.
Okay, but now you have to change the boxes again.
I need also to fix this for some kind of. Okay. I think this now. Good. So,
Let me take a picture.
just know something happened. I clicked something just a moment. Let's put it in more. I clicked something to reload or something like that. Okay, now I think it's good to take pictures. So I checked the JSON and according to your structure, what's happening? I think that AI is like refreshing. It's good. Stop working. Except for stop.
Stop middling.
Yeah.
You can stop button.
Yeah, but he started. If I stop him now, he will maybe break the HTML code, and then I will be in trouble. So let's leave him to do whatever he wants.
I don't think it is a him.
The thing.
Neither. I don't know what it probably it let it work.
He will never do so.
Okay, let's see the care plan now.
Okay, hopefully we want to mingle more.
So this is the care plan of Polina. And what is the top thing is a care plan?
Yes, top thing is just some kind of lane.
So it's okay. So we have a care team. That's probably wrong.
It just took from JSON what it found inside.
Uh-huh.
It didn't create anything new. This will just parses the JSON and displays what's inside.
Yeah.
It doesn't mingle with JSON itself. So, I haven't found, for example, in structure definition, that when you generate some actions, it doesn't say what should be generated. So it's up to there was no service request inside.
Because that's just the proprietary structure that they use. If it was already acquired, we find that.
Yes. And let's see. Please show here, just the description. You can see this. It's also and start to subject. So this one is interesting. Problem prediction of the patient.
We use ICD, the same did for me.
I didn't instruct him. I just told him to read
Yeah.
the structure and
Yeah.
play accordingly.
Mm.
Let's see. I don't know. Okay, basically everything is written here.
And what is the name of this environment?
What is the name?
Yeah, so that I can feed it also my care plan.
I send you on the link.
You did?
Yes, on the Teams.
Okay.
And let me just send the latest version with the dark mode on the Verso. Just wait a minute and then open the link. It will be dark. Maybe I would like maybe in the terms of feature that we maybe adjust. I can adjust this whole thing so it could be published as one of the outputs of the project.
Yeah, definitely. As long as we will make sure that what Giorgio is doing is aligned with this. So in terms of guidelines of how we do things, and then we can publish the examples, the Danish example and the Finnish example, and then maybe a Turkish one.
What is the possibility if you get a CDA from Denmark? Can you do similar?
Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
it could be
Send me a
interesting.
CDA.
This is in Zulu.
Catherine will,
Oh, that's
will hack it.
Oh, come on! Don't laugh at me. I'm just.
But do you need to go through the full
Wait.
process, or can you just give the CDA to ChatGPT and ask for a diagram like this?
Yes. Well, it's better to have a not diagram, but this diagram reads fire.
Yeah,
So you need to create fire representation of your CDA.
but for the AI to create the fire, you need to give it rules, like
Yeah.
the rule that we were discussing. That please take this and make a communication request, or
Yeah,
please for this type of activities create.
we have
whatever.
the stand. Okay, this is not rules. Yes,
I think it's not a
No, it's
problem.
guidance.
But if you have a CDA, It's no problem.
we have a standard
Yeah.
Danish profile.
yeah, send me profile, example, and I will create something like
But
this.
the key thing for me is not whether it's CDA or fire.
No.
It's what is the logic behind the creation of the CDA. So
Yes.
this is the canon that was or part of the canon that we're
Okay,
saying.
we have the clinical guideline. This is in Danish, and you can have the Danish profile, and you can have an example.
And you need also another thing, which is what is the rationale of formulating the CDA so that you don't do CDAs in different ways, huh? Or
We have a Danish profile for care plan.
I don't understand what
This is a standard. This is a.
it says. What do you do?
It's a
Yeah.
it's a CDA profile.
Yeah,
for care.
that's enough. That's enough. Yes. You can use it.
Yeah, we can have.
This is a
very
document which are very, very difficult to read. This was the intention.
Yeah, if it has guidance, maybe the AI can read it and make sense out of it.
But here you have all the rules, or what is allowed.
Yes, in profile.
What
Yeah.
is allowed and how you deal with different activities, right? Or different tasks.
No, the profile is just saying if you have an activity, then you have to specify it here, and this is the syntax how to specify.
But how do you know if something is an activity?
It is coming from the guideline. You understand?
The guideline mentions activities?
Yes.
Okay.
Stop smoking.
Okay, so there is something, there is somewhere a rule that says stop smoking is an activity.
No, but this is an interpretation which are not so specific. But if you are a doctor and read it, then you know that this is an intervention you have to start.
Yeah, but this is the kinds of things you need to feed the AI with in order to make reasonable.
I was
conversion.
thinking that AI could find this. So.
No, it does different things.
Okay,
You run it 2 times, they do different things.
let us see.
Okay, sorry, back to you.
Okay, well, I'm just referring to the leaves that are created in this tree. So here we have goal with targets. This is interesting. And we also have another goal.
So a stupid question. A goal I know is a resource. Description, status, and targets are elements of the resource in.
Let's see what in the fire.
Yeah.
According to the structure definition, yes, it is a resource type goal. And to quit smoking due date, so maybe. So what is good now? It's good to check these resources against fire specification to see maybe it hallucinated something. And so when you are doing this, you would like to check everything, or even if you know the fire resource, then okay. But I would now like to check the goal resource type and to see all these attributes. Maybe AI.
Goal identifier, life cycle status, I see, achievement status, category, priority, description I saw it had. The target I was looking. Target is a measure.
Targets.
It has a due date.
Yes. Target. Let me check the target on fire.
It's part of.
Is it part of
goal? Yeah. It's a backbone element.
And not to kill your.
This is R4, eh? What am I doing here?
Use the dark mode. So it's got a target. It's okay. It has. So you know what I think else would be nice. So here in this viewer, which one is mine?
Which is the care plan? Yeah, I was looking at your software just now.
It would be nice for our project. So when we have some kind of this example, and when we click on it, that maybe we can see for that resource our proposal of that section of care plan to what is in the fire and to see our output. So maybe so that we just can compare, okay, is this
You mean in the textual care plan or in our implementation guide?
implementation guide. So
Okay.
also to feed to this view our implementation guide and to check is everything according to implementation guide. So maybe I can add, for example, another column here on the right side where our implementation guide is loaded, and when you click on something, it refers to the implementation guide and checks for validations, something like that. So when you load your care plan, you can see the difference between what are you generating and what X-share or cross-border sharing requests for the care plans to be. So something like that. It would be useful tool for me when I am now working for so I'm currently working on a medical image cross-border sharing, and I would like to compare my imaging studies and what's requested from HDS and stuff. So
yeah. Compare
yes.
what you generate versus.
So for this part, care plan viewer, so this plan definition viewer, that's something that we are using inside company, and it's mostly used for our internal stuff and visualizing, and it will be part of our CDSS management. But for this care plan, I developed it just for the X-share, so I can take that code, make it maybe public, something like that. So
that would be nice.
I need to ask my
Of course.
let's back here. Okay, so we have those goals and targets, and finally, according to the structure definition, we have actions. So there's not much inside, it is just a text. I can check it. So what's
It's an activity, not an action, huh?
Yes, activities. Sorry. Just let me check JSON structure to be.
Because there is also something called action in the resource.
Yeah,
I remember.
so this is activity, and basically are just textual description, and so.
Okay.
But Jonathan, is this I mean real care plan from your system, or just some synthetic example you've created?
I didn't create it. That's a part of the official documents that were developed. I think the DHL, which is the ministry. So that was the official example.
Oh, official. So what's puzzling me is that, for example, when you come to visit of the doctor, so in the same care plan, you need to fix your teeth to stop smoking and to check for your diabetes. So
This is actually not right, if I understand correctly. Reading the care plan, this is a diagnosis.
Yeah,
This is not.
yes.
So this is not correctly modeled. Huh?
the orange ones are not goals.
It's a problem. No, it's correct.
It's condition.
It's condition.
Okay. I'm just like thinking you come to the visit and the doctor checks your teeth, checks everything and creates care plan for everything. So maybe for real world.
Yeah.
The field that's now in the top right called description.
That
the purpose of this entire care plan is that.
That's a very good point.
That's the point of this care plan.
Okay.
Like Tutoring, there is a part where the doctor
Ah.
actually checks your teeth because of the complications.
Okay.
Your teeth.
Yeah, diabetes, yeah, can affect the teeth. Yeah.
Also eye examination. Because of type
Oh,
of
yes.
disease.
All right. So we have some conditions. Let's go over. The top things is the subject, which is a patient. Is it the patient indeed the resource? The subject? Okay. The second one is the status of the care plan. We do have a status in the care plan, right, Giorgio?
In most of the yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the status. Yeah, but I was thinking about the mandatory nature. All right, next. So this is not a resource. This is a kind of an attribute.
So
Subject, the author. We have the author as well. We have the care team. Is that right? The care team, that it is the health center, or is it the nurse and the health professional, the care team? Yeah, but I was thinking it can be an organization, but I was thinking in the resource, you're right, but I was wondering in the specific care plan, who is the care team?
it has everything. It has practitioner and organization.
But the care,
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
What?
it could be cross-border, cross-sector.
Yeah. What is missing as far as the structure we have here is Dr. Lasse Tohtorinen, which has recommended the values. And my question is Dr. Lasse part of the care team?
This.
The goals that have been, or the targets, I guess, that have been set,
Mm.
part of those were authored or recommended by this specific doctor, so.
So the doctor, is he part, should we consider him part of the care team or not?
Interesting.
But I haven't seen doctor here.
Here, go up a little bit. It's a complete quick line 21.
Aha, Dr. Was. Oh, that's missing in our.
Yes, and I had two questions. The first question is, should Dr. Lasse be part of the care team? And the second question, in the target, which where the target is part of the goal, should we actually list who provided these targets?
I didn't enter this.
Yes, all quoted value will have an author.
So I think yesterday we were I think one of them was the one that suggested splitting the goals into like patient goals and treatment goals, so I think that's.
They have a separate, yeah, they have their own coach if it is a patient goal or if it is a.
Because in this example too, there's the goals that the patient has set for themselves, and then these ones that the government has set.
Yeah, the self-care, you mean? But I was talking about the target element.
Okay.
And
I'm looking for the resource target.
It's on the screen, so it's not.
Oh, sorry.
It's inside the goal.
Yeah. Do we have who is the responsible person?
Yes, expressed by.
Ah,
Maybe that would be for the goal. The targets. For goal, we have the subjects.
Subject.
Okay, this is goal. Okay, so we have subject.
the target has a measure and it has a detail. And it has a date. And that's it.
There's the expressed by who's responsible for creating goal. Should be
Practitioner. Okay, so this is good.
You also have the example.
No, you did in Julep. In Julep.
nothing. Then put it in goals.
Yeah. We can do. Let's finish this example then, so that we can add it to the GitHub. So Giorgio, would you create a folder where we can put the different examples from Finland? I mean, we can work to improve it, but this is the care team. Can we go down now to see the goal and
Here.
we have the conditions expressed in ICD-10, if I remember. Yeah, let's go down now. Condition, and then we have the goal. Manage diabetes 2 through diet and exercise. What did it say for us? Yes, that was the goal. This is the goal of the patient, right? Subject.
Yes.
The target. Fasting. Oh, that's nice, huh? And here I think I saw Dr. Lasse somewhere. Where did they no?
Searched.
Ah.
No him here.
Okay.
It didn't enter the site, so maybe.
Okay, we can make it add it. We can ask
Yes.
to add it as
Yeah.
how did we hear it said? It was
You add. Oh, we said it's called.
expressed by. Yeah, can you add Dr. Lasse in expressed by in expressed by of the target?
Check. Target expressed by. Checked.
Yeah,
There is no reference
Dr. Lasse.
Let him.
Okay, you're playing. Okay, let's go down also to the example now. I found it. Okay. Yeah.
Let's edit. Huh?
Yeah.
Edit, please. Okay.
Oh, here.
So he had it in the care team, I think. He had it.
He had it also in the care team.
Yes.
Super. Wow.
Well, not here. Well, he had it as a resource, as a practitioner with others, but he didn't include it in a care team participant. Yes. So let's see. Did he? Okay, he updated.
The measure is updated. All right, and it's updated for every measure. That's great. Okay.
Anyway, the doctor should be or shouldn't be a part of it. But
Yeah. We kind of.
the role is just.
I think Oxe said that it should be, and I don't know if Giorgio. Well, anyways, let's go down the example. So we have the goals.
So let me check did anything in visualization changed? I will. Okay. Do we have some?
It's the care team. Do we have a care team somewhere? Yes, we do. There.
We do, but Dr. Lasse, it's not part of it. So probably shouldn't. I'm not sure. But I'm looking, is Dr. Lasse mentioned here? No, I need to update that every target activity or here.
Yeah, it was.
Here, it should be in the target.
In the
Yeah.
target, okay, let's update our visualization. Accept everything. Can you also preferred target how we said it expressed by expressed by attribute as
And the other yeah, okay, go ahead.
let's see first visualization and then
We need to ask also. Okay. I think we kind of have a process. So now I have the other question. So we tackled the goals. If we go back to the JSON, what we haven't tackled now is the fact that there are some activities, right?
yes, let's go down to there.
So it says to achieve these goals, I have decided to participate in the diabetes 2 peer support group and join the remote support group.
Yeah,
How does it handle those?
nothing special. They are just shown here. And
Are they service requests or
no, it's not.
are they tasks?
They're nothing. They're just a label. So I will.
Oh, okay.
They just have its activity with a label, and if you see the JSON original,
Yeah.
then you will see this. So,
Okay. So maybe we can ask to create. What do we want these to be? I'm a little bit perplexed. Are these communication requests or
let's ask AI.
service requests? Yeah. So maybe we can ask to add service requests for these activities.
So, also fire services for care plan activities. Some
And also, I don't know how to represent it. The schedule a dental health checkup with a health center.
care plan fire. Let's see. So service request, communication request, and task. Shall we edit?
Service request for the schedule. Yes, we agreed that. Communication request is the telephone consultation. We agree on that? Martin, you agree that the telephone consultation should be a communication request? And the task is to submit. Oh, and the three, no, we said that for self-reported action submit, this is a Yeah, for the third is a service request.
Okay.
Yeah. Ask it to make it a
Three propose service request and add everything to
So I have another important element to say. In the submit weekly blood glucose measurement results, do we want to add the observation that comes from that request? Because we have this, this goes back to your comment, Morten, about collecting data. Because it says here, if fasting blood glucose reportedly exceeds and so on. So do we want this value in the care plan?
Yeah. Efficiency HR.
Uh-huh. So you don't want to put it also here, right?
Okay, but for this service request, it should be recurring.
But Catherine, I wonder, and maybe Ivan can do this later. It could be interesting to see, do we have something here in this care plan which are not described in the clinical guideline? My point is, as I mentioned yesterday, we should only address.
This is not this is out of scope for this particular action. Because our starting point is a care plan.
But still, it could be interesting.
Yeah, it could be, but we are not doing that here. In the previous model, in the previous task, which was to go from the.
But when we finalize, it could be interesting to see.
It will be. This is a real world. Okay.
Okay, so they added to the repeat now.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we can save this as an example. We can look at it, but we can save it also in GitHub to have it as a possible candidate to be further evaluated once we have the implementation guide. So if
I would like to load the latest version of it.
And then because I'm thinking that we need to move also to see the CDA example case.
What time is the workshop? 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock. We have a little bit of time. Yeah, we can do it in
15 minutes. Yeah, so
yeah. So Georgia will create a folder in GitHub, so we can put Turkey, Finland, Denmark.
It's not long enough. You need to come here.
So if you could even, so that we have like a checkpoint, put them in GitHub and put a small text there also explaining what it is, and we can have a checkpoint.
yes, I will boost the service.
Yeah.
Okay, I created a care plan from our system, and I will show you how it looks like in Fire. So this is the user interface. So we have right now 5 goals: weight, BMI, systolic diastolic blood pressure, and LDL values, and these are the quantified targets. And we have, let's see, all the interventions, activities, like we have assigned a questionnaire for the patient, the WHO audit questionnaire. And if we go by categories, there are 2 patient orders: self-measurement of blood pressure at home.
I have a question. It says recommended interventions.
Yes.
My language remembers activities, not intervention.
Yeah,
Is intervention activity?
Some of our end users wanted to name them instead of activities.
But he also used like intervention. So, but we are talking about activities.
Yeah, activity is the Fire technical language,
right.
but for the doctors, they prefer the.
I just wanted to confirm that this is the case. This is what I assumed. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is a moderate intensity exercise for at least 30 minutes. And we have some medication recommendations for statin and calcium channel blocker. We have a vaccination, immunization recommendation. We don't have any diet recommendation directly, but there is an education material for that. There are 2 lab requests for the next visit. Just examples, of course, for the moment. We have 3 referral recommendations: a smoking cessation unit because the patient is a smoker, a referral to dietitian, and a wellness center for. This can be directly a physiotherapist, but in this case, they wanted to refer to a wellness center instead of a physiotherapist directly. I mentioned the questionnaire, and there are no other generic interventions. And we display usually in our user interface the education materials in a different section. So these are the education materials. So let's go what it looks like in Fire. Is it okay? Is the English version? So I did a full care plan search. So this is the ID of the care plan that was created. And I said that include all the references in the query. So all of them have been returned right now. So this is the care plan. I will skip some parts like meta, etc. I will focus on
The
this is
metadata.
this is our subject. We have a title. We know that it's this is the author, the test user.
Do you have a purpose? Because I see you have care plan of Atlas.
This is the name of
Yeah. But do you have the purpose of the care plan somewhere?
actually, we describe here as a tag. So for which disease module this
It's
plan was
CBD.
created. Yeah,
Okay.
it's for a CBD disease
All right.
module, and this is monitoring. So these are our own, let's say, categorization. If we go to the extension part, we always use the workflow episode of care, the official HL7 extension, because each care planning episode is a specific episode, and all the resources created there are reference to the exact episode of care, and we also use it for authorization purposes as well. The category is most of the time like a static, but these can be made further disease specific. That's also possible. We have created a care plan. It is being referenced. I will show you how it looks like in the below. And so we have the start time, and since it's active, it doesn't have an end.
So you reference here the care team of Atlas Centurk.
Yes.
So this is an external reference, so to speak. You don't include it here. All right.
We always do that. So this was also an encounter, since this was an encounter of the doctor with the patient. These are also listed here. And then we start with the goals and the activities. So we had 5 goals in the UI. So this is just the first display, but these are the exact resources that we will see. And these are the activity references, such as the dietary education material, these medication requests for statin and CCB. And this is for the vaccination. In this version, since we are using File Release 4, there is no support for, actually, there is no immunization recommendation resource in Release 4, but it is in Release 5. So when we switch to, in our R5 version, this is also possible to use that resource. And then we have some service requests like the exercise, these referrals, and for the patient assigned activities, lab tests. So let's see some of them. And we will also use this notes area for some final notes in the UI. You can see here. We have
in response release, immunization recommendation. It's another one, but it's there.
In release 4?
Release 4.
Let's see. I recall it's not referenced in the care plan. That's the problem. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, this is the care plan. If we go to the activity, you see, since it was very, very immature, it's not part of the, we cannot reference it directly. That's the issue. And also we also address 2 main problems, health concerns of the patient here in the addresses parts. As you can see here, we will also see them. So let's start.
But you don't have what it is in it.
It's here because this text part is not that important. We have them in a structured manner because it's
below. Okay.
Referenced here. So this one is, for example, a confirmed diagnosis for congestive heart failure.
And you use NOMAD.
In this case, in Turkey, we don't use NOMAD. I try to prepare an English example in a local setup. So this is not.
In Turkey, what do you use for the
ICD-10, like the Australian version. I have also a Turkish example here as well, but since it's in Turkish, I wanted to show this local one. So I'm not going to the other bits, and the other diagnosis is for hypertension. And let's see a goal example. Again, we have these meta attributes, so life cycle status, etc. The achievement is in progress. So we have the description code in a coded manner from Loink. The body weight is here. And we have the start date. I just created it. And we have the target in a structured manner. Again, we repeat the same, since it's just, let's say, quantified goal. We repeat the measure here as well, the body weight. And then we have the range, like the above and below settings. So we have seen that this was automatically calculated on a 5% reduction for the next 3 or 6 months. So this is 72 kilograms. And we can see another example that includes both upper and lower bounds, such as in this case for diastolic blood pressure. It was recommended to keep it between 70 and 80. And these are the UCUM units, etc. And the goals are similar. The structured goals are always similar. Let's go to some activities. We have, this is the care team, but it's for the moment it's a simple one because there is only one member. I just created it, and then no one has been part of this process for the moment. And this is our patient. We can skip that. It's just, we can see the age and gender. We have started with some education material, like this is the dietary education material. It's a
And that's
communication
the service
request.
definition I saw.
We use communication request for the education materials. Again, skipping these parts, we use the payload bits. This is a kind of a PDF available on web. It has the title and it's here. And the subject and the recipient are the same. Also we have when it was created, etc. And this is another education material, so let's skip that. And this is a medication request. This is for statin. And we can see that this is from ATC, the active ingredient code for atorvastatin. And the timing is just, since it's not the direct prescription yet, there is no exact timing. It is possible to set it in the system, but for the moment, I just kept it as kind of a recommendation. So there's no further detail on the usage. So this is for the vaccination. It's using the CVX code system in this case, but normally in Turkey, we have a local, let's say, list of vaccinations.
This is for the vaccination.
And then let's see some, again, this is a medication request. Let's see some other types of service requests. For example, what we have here is, let's see. This is the personal care treatments and procedures. The category is that, which means that this is a kind of a patient order for, as you can see, the moderate intensity exercise. And we found some code from CPT for this purpose. And we also, it's the biggest advantage of service requests is that you have this occurrence timing attribute so that you can explicitly specify in a very detailed manner the timing of this activity, such as in this case, this is 5 times per week. And you can also even set the durations for each time. So do it in each session, 20 minutes or something like that.
That's nice. For procedures, do we have something in Europe, Giorgio? Or here, Mustafa used CPT from EMA. Do we have something in Europe?
Sonomet CT is also the option in this case, but I just want to show some examples. We will see some Sonomet CT here as well. So, for example, in this case, this is for self-measurement of blood pressure for the patient, and we described that this one should, start and continue for 6 months for the patient, and it will be twice each day. And you can also even set further times like after breakfast, before lunch, etc. This is for that purpose. And these we have you have seen that some laboratory procedure recommendations as well before the next visit, like such as this creatinine. In this case, Loink is used here. This is another. This is a referral. In this case, we use in the category another Sonomet CT code. So we use to differ between different types of specific service requests, such as referral, lab test, a questionnaire assignment, a patient order, directly patient order assignment. We use some codes from Sonomet CT from under the procedure domain. So we know that this is actually a referral, and this is for a referral to a physical therapist.
Is it a service request?
Yes, this is again a service request.
I see them both.
So there used to be a referral request, what we might call in release 2 and even in release 3. There was a referral request resource, another resource, but it has been removed, and now the service request covers all
the different types.
The types of such activities. This is similar. So the important thing is that in the code parts, this time we are using this specialty or the dietitian, etc., whatever it is. Like in this case, this is a referral to a dietitian.
Hmm.
Um,
It would
Yeah.
be interesting. Yeah. Please.
This is a smoking
complete it.
cessation therapy, and let's see.
Is it a task or
No, no, all of them are source.
All-
So
all-
we don't use task in our implementation at all, because task is more like for the, not for the directly people, it's like for the system. So you
Okay.
define some
more
let's say,
workflow kind
yeah,
of
like some
activity?
flow, some jobs to run automatically, etc. And
Okay.
these are
I think
expected to
it
be
makes
run.
sense to use service request.
And this is, yeah, this is a questionnaire assignment. So this is the WHO audit questionnaire assigned to the patients.
So the questionnaire is also a service request?
Yes, it's a service request. In the category, we indicate that this is this is an assessment using assessment scale, and then we reference the service request. There is an extension for this service request questionnaire request. This is an official service request extension. I believe in upcoming releases like release 5, no, I mean maybe release 6, it would be nice to have this as a more like a part of the original list of attributes
The question
to link the questionnaire. So
to
we use
external
this,
sources, you mean, or?
yeah, we are referring directly to the questionnaire definition. So this questionnaire actually exists. This is the WHO questionnaire, but normally it's not part of the original list of attributes or service requests, but there is an official
So you made an
extension.
extension.
We didn't do it actually. This is the HR7 extension itself.
So
They have thought of it, but it's yet in the extension list. Yeah, I guess that is, these are the encounters and episode of care that are created for this patient. So the conditions are again listed here. So yeah, that's it. Yes, exactly. All of anything that is being created as part of the care planning, it's always structured. They correspond to file resources and they are being saved and displayed accordingly. So whatever you see here is actually all the same query. The same file queries are running here. So we did this exact care plan query, for example, here.
So is it possible for you, for instance, in your system to create the care plan of the Finnish?
Yes, it's possible. You just need to configure like of course, in the different coding systems, etc.
It doesn't mention any coding. Oh, well, it has the UCOM modes like the MOL.
UCOM is okay, but for example, we are using ICD-10.
It doesn't say anything about ICD-10.
Or especially when you create some orders like lab test requests, okay, LOINC is well known and used almost everywhere, but the Turkish version has a kind of its own mapping to LOINC. So we cannot order via LOINC, but for each, there's a local code version. It has a direct mapping to LOINC code. We know which code it is, but still it cannot be used directly in the official.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
So for medications, I think in Finland is the same as Turkey. So that stuff is via ADC, diagnosis are via ICD-10. But when we get to things like labs, like of course LOINC is for something, but we also have this like LOINC overlay called FinLOINC. And there's other code systems on top of that. So that's where it gets complex.
Different countries have chosen different LOINC codes.
Yeah, that's also a challenge.
Like almost same.
Exactly. In LOINC, there are too many variations of the same concept, and it becomes a challenge. And also the procedures.
Blood glucose, for instance, the thing about blood glucose, submit a weekly blood glucose measurements. This can be tricky. How do you actually code blood glucose measurement? It's one of the most widely repeated LOINC codes.
Exactly. The panel tests are always a challenge.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Just a comment, because what we have in our CDA, and I think when we're also shifting to 5 will be similar. You are adding more information in the care plans than we are doing, because you are having all the service requests, and so we will not add it in that way. We will just say that it has been ordered. And another thing which we will not put, and this is an advice and a request also from the doctors is that we will not put any information in the care plan which we are sharing about medication, because it is dangerous when you are sharing this, because we have a national service with the actual medication card.
Mhm.
So if you are taking a care plan which are maybe 1 month ago and people can't find out, then they are taking the medication you just showed here, but the actual medication is different.
Exactly.
So actually we have to agree on that the standard we are using, is it for the care plan in execution? This is what I saw here, or is it the data we want to share?
Well, this is quite similar case in Turkey and also in our other setups. This medication is yet only a recommendation. It's not prescribed. So that's why.
I had a
Yeah,
request.
but still it is here.
Yeah, it's still stated, but as a recommendation. It's not a prescription. So it's
No.
even it's.
But we will not mention, in the beginning, actually, we had by the doctors a function where you could print out the medication and give it to the patient. But this is also dangerous, we found.
But on the other hand, it might be nice to have a link to the medication list, even if it is an external link, because you would like to know what you are taking for this condition that you're having. What is your goal? What is the frequency, and so on.
This is what we are doing.
The patients, in the patient view, the medication recommendations are never displayed. The patients only see their actual active prescriptions.
Yes,
in
that's
the
okay.
PHR. And as you can see, what we create here is the intent of this medication request is proposal. It's not an order. If it was a real prescription, it should have been ordered.
And here it's coming what I mentioned yesterday, that we have some business rules saying that if you have this, you may not show the medication. Okay.
Wait. Can we kind of go over time 10 minutes to see also the Danish example?
I have not.
Give us the CDA.
You have the link in your system if you can put it.
Thank you, Mustafa. If you could show us, well, via email, the example of the Finnish, that would be awesome. And if you could add your example also to the GitHub, yeah, that would be great. Yes. Yes. Yes, that would be nice. Yeah.
I have it here, Catherine.
Sorry, what was your question? Is it in the
External meeting.
so we can be late?
No.
So it's 5 past.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like officially now is the lunchtime, so if you want to present something, we can take another 10 minutes and then we'll have 45 minutes for the lunch. If that's not enough time for now, then let's just break for lunch and continue afterwards.
So we're doing.
Let's do the action. I mean, understand a little bit the action. So I have, there is a file now, which is a, which is a CDA document. Maybe Ivan can do it the fastest way. Yeah, it's in Julep.
Okay, I have the same problem as yesterday. It is showing.
Yeah, I can. I think. Yeah. I have it in my screen. Yeah. I have it in my screen. Yeah, and in the meantime, maybe for the 1 o'clock, we can also show the CDA. If this runs quickly, even if it doesn't, we don't.
It's a different topic.
I will put it in the. I put it also in chat. In the chat of the Teams, you can find it. Yeah? Okay, so now this is the example, and I increase the zoom a little bit to see.
But as you know, this is not.
Show us, tell us. I'm just showing you speak.
This is CDA, so it is not so readable as Fire. But yeah, this is the header in the CDA. You have to go down about the author and the patient and coding system.
We have the address. We can close it. We have the patient. Can close it. We have the provider organization. We can close it. We have the author. We can close it. We have the custodian. Close it, and then we have documentation of.
Yeah, and
Tell us about that.
and actually, we have a different kind of documentation of what we were missing yesterday. Georgia, was actually the start of the care plan and the end of the care plan. The start and stop of the for the care plan. This is what we have here. And we have also a possibility to put in an episode of a care label. So in different kind of document, you can put in and say, this is a label for diabetes or for COPD and so on. So we can go into our infrastructure and say, so.
Reference to.
No, not episode. It is start stop for the care plan. Yes.
So,
yes.
so as plan of the header, I understand that we have the service event, no?
This is the service.
No, this is the custodian, no?
No.
No.
This is
the-
documentation of.
So what are I see 3 sections of documentation of. What are these?
One is the version of the CPD. You can see it is CPD version.
CPCR. CP.
No.
This is the care.
Yeah, the first
The first one?
service event is the version of the CPD profile.
Okay, this is here.
No,
CP
yes, this is this one.
Yeah, and what about this one?
This,
CPCR, PCPR.
This is the start of the care plan.
Oh, okay, so this is the
And
duration.
this is a chronic disease, so this is a null value for the high, for the stop of the care
Okay,
plan.
so it started at some date but doesn't stop. Then you have the care plan version, and then you have what? The code should have the classification system.
Yes, it is an episode of care label where we have a ICD-10 codes where we can link it into. It is not a diagnose, but we have a label saying this is about diabetes. But this label are not saying that you have diabetes.
Okay, this refers to the care plan, so to speak, or?
No, it is codes we are using across different documents.
And this is an episode of care label,
Yes.
right? So a chronic disease of diabetes would be an episode of care? That's how
Yes,
you model
yes,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
No, this is because the classification, we call it episode of care label.
And then we have the body.
And the body here, we have first the health concerns. The first one is the narrative text, so you can go a little down where you can see the diagnosis. They are coming here. Diagnosis ICPC. We are having a lot of overhead here about explaining the different classification system. And we have to go down. You can see here it is health concern.
We have a number of health concerns here.
Yes. And when we go down, we have up here we had the author for the first.
For the first concern?
Yes.
See that?
No, you have to go down.
Oh, I have to go down.
Because you have a lot of overhead in CDAs.
Okay, the assigned author, yes, the endocrinologist actually assigned it.
So you can see it's coming down here that you have the diabetes.
So one concern, yeah? Yeah, go ahead. Would you like to come here or?
Have we made some graphic?
Yeah. So it's okay.
You will learn it.
So let's put, so what I understand is that we will put 3 examples, a Finnish and Turkish and a Danish, with 3 different models and infrastructures and software. And we will also add a section where the Turkish system is actually displaying a Finnish care plan.
This is interesting.
Just a moment. Maybe it's still, just a moment, maybe it's still cooking. Oh, it seems okay. So we can, let's see.
Show me the other person that can take picture, or?
So it says it's also diabetes, maybe.
It is diabetes. I
so-
saw it in the little thing that we read.
Just let me, now now I have updated the structure. Now it's showing the service requests and whatever. Okay, so this is it.
So we have the subject, we have the status, we have the intent. We also have the period that you just mentioned, you know, when it started and so on, and we have the author.
Yeah.
Right? What we don't have is where it comes from and this overhead, you know, like what computable guideline they're using that you saw.
This is not in, but we have a.
It was in the header that we saw.
Let me see. I will see is it in JSON structure and
Yeah, but we don't have any reference to what clinical guidelines we are using.
Didn't you have
No.
the CPCD, what you showed me?
No. This was about the classification systems.
No, I think you showed me.
No.
Maybe I misunderstood.
I'm sure we don't have.
Okay, let's continue, but I will understand it later.
Yeah.
so.
But here you can see with the orange box that you have the health concerns. You have diabetes, and you have also heart disease, which are this code K74, and you have also.
It doesn't say that it is ICD-10, no? But we assume that it is.
No, this is ICPC.
This is ICPC. Okay, so.
And this is all the overhead you can see in the CDA.
Do we have here that it is ICPC somewhere in the JSON?
Let me find.
Diabetes type 2, it should be. It's T90, that's an ICPC, but it is not mentioned. But you have an OID. This is a Danish OID pointing to that. This is ICPC.
Yes, I see. So
that's okay.
So maybe it needs some refinement.
Okay, let's go back.
We have a table for those OIDs.
Okay.
Which can be added.
Okay.
Then you have the information.
So Morten, do you have it also in a kind of user-friendly format?
I have I can open a care plan and make some screenshots so you can see it in Danish, and probably I can also translate it.
That would be nice.
And I can take one with more information than we have here.
Yeah, but this is good for the 1 to 3 to showcase.
And here we have LDL. You can see outside. This is target goal.
Yeah.
That you have in the blue.
Yeah.
And here you have the patient's own goals, which are a text. I would like to be able to.
Morten, and I wonder how we can do it, how we can separate the goals of the patient from the goals, the therapeutic, so to speak, goals.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some timekeeping in 10, now 16, but if we're going for the lunch now would be the plan.
Yeah. Okay. And the green one is interventions, as we call it.
Interventions or activities.
Yeah.
1, 2, or 4. Yes, we have some presentations, and I leave it to the presenters to decide what they will be presenting. I understand that the presenters are myself on Excel, you on a Turkish example, Morten on a dance example, and Ivan on a Finnish / Croat. I think you can decide
Where?
204.
20, is it here?
Yeah, well, just a note, we have half an hour at the end where there will be discussion. So if there is no discussion, we can continue some of the work that we did, for instance, for the CDA to fire.
And
I find it exciting, actually.
and just for your information, I will show more or less the same as yesterday.
And what about this example? Are we using it?
We
You're
don't
not
really-
ready.
No.
Maybe we can use it in the Q&A. And
But it depends on the audience.
depends on the audience. I mean, the worst case is that we are us and some friends of us, and we share what we did. But I think it would be nice also to get some clarity on what we want to do in the next meeting, which will be in the Connectathon, what we expect from Giorgio to do and IHC to do.
But
Huh? Assemble the guide and use it. And what to do? What will be the ask to IHC? To IHC, what would be the ask to allow people to test this in the Connectathon?
but Catherine, we need a separate meeting for this.
Okay. That's fair.